Alderman for Tuesday, May 4th. The first thing that we will do is adopt our agenda. I have one change to the agenda. I would like to add at 11A to request permission to apply for 2 grants through the T-Mobile Hometown Grants Program. So that'll be at 11A. Are there any other changes or additions? Ashley?
One resignation in the fire department.
Okay.
And we have that.
And we have a memo on our table. Yes, thank you.
I can't pull up anything on my iPad.
Okay. Okay, we may have to hold just a second. Michael, now everybody's in working.
Keisha, are you on?
You're on? Janice and Mark. So sorry, guys. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but are having some internet issues. While he is working on that, I will go on and give a mayor's report, and we'll keep going until we get to something that y'all need to click on the attachments for. But as I guess we'd need a motion to adopt the agenda with that addition.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. It was great to hear from our local state representatives and senator last week at our Eggs and Issues breakfast that the Chamber of Commerce hosted. It was good to hear about all the progress that they made during the legislative session and to hear them talk about the $250,000 that the city was appropriated to go towards the Highway 7 and University Avenue intersection, which brings our total appropriations from the state legislature to $5 million for that intersection. We are hoping that that $5 million, along with $1 million that was allocated to the county for that intersection, motivates MDOT to get the ball rolling. So we're pushing hard for that. We were also granted $250,000 to be used for a square revitalization project in the bond bill. So we are so thankful to Clay DeWeese and to Nicole Boyd for being instrumental in providing these much needed funds to our community. I think everything else that we have been working on at City Hall is somewhere down this agenda. So with that, I will ask the board to authorize the approval of the minutes of the special meeting on April 20th and the regular meeting on April 20th and special meeting on April 28th.
Mayor, I'm going to move that we approve the minutes, and there is a correction to the minutes of April 20th.
Okay.
Just adding on number 11 that public comment during a site plan review to be held at a future meeting of the Planning Commission. We just left that out. And with that correction, I move that we approve all the minutes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I'll ask you to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Ask you to consider the consent agenda with the addition of one resignation in the Oxford Fire Department.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consider a request from the Garden Club of Oxford for a revocable license for a Blue Star Memorial at the Oxford Conference Center. Mark Levy.
I have a request from the Oxford Garden Club to install a Blue Star Memorial. The Blue Star Memorial honors all men and women that serve in the U.S. Armed Forces. There are 56 Blue Star markers in Mississippi, and the closest one to Oxford is in Water Valley. The rendering you have in your packet shows the proposed location. We feel like that's a good location. It'll be highly visible to full-time and reserve National Guardsmen who use the facility, the conference center. The sign is 7 feet 6 inches tall and 45 inches wide, and will be donated and paid for and maintained by the Garden Club.
All right, and it looks beautiful. Thank you for the rendering, and thank you to the Garden Club. Do we have any questions about that from anyone?
Looks good. I move that we approve it.
It's second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Oxford Garden Club. Now we will discuss COVID-19 current restrictions and guidelines, and as we have done every meeting for the past 14 months, we'll get Jimmy to come up and start by updating us on where we are on new cases and all that kind of thing.
Okay, for today, the state had 208 cases reported, 14 deaths. We had an increase of 9 cases in Lafayette County for a total of 6,162 with no new deaths. You can see the breakdown on the list is our weekly 7-day case average is actually dropping and everything. We're now averaging over the past 5 weeks 4.39, so you can see how it's dropping, and the total number of cases are dropping. The hospital numbers are looking good. Right now, we only have 8 COVID-19 patients in the hospital, and of those, only 1 in ICU. And as of 8 a.m. this morning, we've had 41% of our Lafayette County population have received at least 1 shot, where 37% of our population has received, has been fully vaccinated. So that's where we're sitting at numbers-wise.
I think we're higher than the national average.
Yes, we are. We're just a tad bit higher than, I think the national average now is sitting at about 40%, so we're about 1% above the national average.
Wonderful. Anybody have any questions for Jimmy? The only thing that we still have in place that is not in coordination with the governor's order is masks in city buildings. I have gotten a request numerous times over the past few weeks to please reconsider that, so I said I would bring it up just to get input from you all. Not everybody at once.
Is this, you're talking about whether or not we require, I mean, whether or not we require our employees to wear them, or whether or not somebody.
No, we currently have,
we
require everyone, people
in.
coming in and our employees to wear them. And I just was asked to bring that up to you all to.
I don't have a problem with it being optional for people that come in. I think we probably ought to just stick with our employees continuing to wear them for people who want it.
I think if our employees have to wear masks to protect themselves and others, then others should do the same. So I'm good with leaving it the way it is for now. Keep looking at it, but I think we're good now. But
as far as our interaction with the public, don't we have safety measures set up where we're interacting with the plexiglass screens, or are there other places that we're not, that we would be at risk?
If anyone enters a city building to have a transaction of paying a ticket or taxes or utility bills or whatever, all there is plexiglass in place. If they come in to meet with someone in planning or in building, or, you know what I mean? Obviously the police department deals with people face to face all day, and you know, so they're both, honestly. I mean, at the activity center, people who are exercising don't have on a mask, but others do. Just y'all's call. Anybody want to change it, leave it?
I mean, I think I'm okay with leaving it if y'all want to leave it. I mean, I just think we're really close to being able to do this. I mean, we're so many people are immunized, especially all the city employees.
Yep.
I mean, that's with my next question, how many city employees are vaccinated?
I don't know the answer. All that want to be. I mean, we've gotten to the point where we are down to only a couple of hundred shots a day now, because that's how many people are signing up. We have hundreds of shots available. If you get on right now, you can get a shot tomorrow. You know, I mean, there are shots available every day. But we can wait till we have a higher percentage vaccinated.
and I think as long as we have businesses that are requiring masks, like Kroger and other businesses, that the city should do the same.
Okay, is there a motion to make a change? Okay, if not, we will keep masks in city buildings. Also, under current restrictions and guidelines, we had determined at a previous meeting that outdoor dining would all be taken up after graduation, which would mean it would be eliminated on May the 17th. Just wanted to bring that up again. The ones that are not on Jackson Avenue East, that construction will not begin in front of those on May 17th. We had a few that would love to keep theirs up until the end of May. Do you all have a problem with them keeping theirs up until the end of May?
No, I think it's great.
Is that okay? Do we need a motion to change that, Bart? Because I think we had.
I think it's gonna be Just the opposite, I think if you revoke the license, is when you would need permission, as long as you leave those licenses.
Okay, so if it's good with y'all then, those that are not on Jackson Avenue East, we'll let them finish out the month with their outdoor dining.
Yeah.
Great. All right, thank you very much, Jimmy. Anything else under COVID restrictions or guidelines that anybody wants to discuss? All right, discuss the Townie Tuesday program. I know that our downtown businesses, I have seen quite a few advertising with this Townie Tuesday free parking incorporated to their advertising. And, you know, I think that it's gone so well, Matt may choke me, we didn't talk about this beforehand. I think it's gone so well that when they, you know, I don't know if y'all have looked around, but the past few days since a lot of these students have gone home, it's been pretty slow. I think Townie Tuesday may be a good thing to keep through the summer. If y'all agree, for our businesses, I think they've kind of gotten used to promoting that and enjoying it.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
think it's a good thing.
We actually had our highest week last week. I know it was graduation. Even with Townie Tuesday, we had the highest week we ever had with parking.
Wow,
Like
So
that.
just food for thought.
that's awesome.
So do we
Good.
need a motion to keep it in place?
I think so, yeah, and let's just say the day that we,
What?
through the end of July, I guess students come back.
Yeah.
Till the
of
first
August.
meeting in August.
Yeah, still.
I think
Say,
that's,
I'll make the motion that we keep it in place until August 3rd.
Second.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Matt. All right, progress update for the Animal Resource Center. We held a special meeting last week to vote to offer a candidate the director's position at the Animal Resource Center. And I am excited to announce that Nicole Young has been selected to serve as the director of the Animal Resource Center. Nicole has served for the past 3 years managing the customer care specialist at the Memphis Animal Center. And prior to joining Memphis Animal Center, she served as lead nurse at an animal emergency center where she provided vet tech assistance. When we met Nicole, when she came in for the interview, we immediately knew that we had found the director that we had been searching for. I think she's going to be a great asset to our Animal Resource Center, and we are excited that she will begin May 17th. So we are getting close there. We have approached the county on partnering with us on the Animal Resource Center. Bart and I met with 2 supervisors, the county administrator, and the sheriff last week to discuss what a partnership would look like. And this afternoon, the county sent a proposal. I'm going to read it into the minutes. It's short. I forwarded it to the board when I got it late this afternoon. Mayor and Bart, the Board of Supervisors, met yesterday and would like to offer to pay the city the same amount the county was currently paying Mississippi Critters for animal services for 6 months. The amount the county paid Mississippi Critters is $9,964 monthly. The county would also allow the use of the transport van that was previously used by Critters as long as an agreement with the city and county is in place. In 6 months, we can evaluate expenses, progress, and discuss a future agreement. Thanks for your hard work and investigation into the management style and needed changes to the shelter. Please let us know the board's thoughts after your meeting. So, you all have a budget in front of you that we looked at and talked through at our last work session. And as we talked about then, this budget's developed by looking at budgets of other animal resource centers, past budgets of the nonprofits that have run our facility in the past. And so it is an educated but not exact budget. And our hope is that the expenses will be less than projected, but we want to be realistic as we move forward. At the bottom of that second page, you will see that the amount that we were asking the county to split with us was the total minus all of the animal control expenses, which is $869,716.80. And then we also discussed if we backed out animal control, all of the building modifications and equipment, which will be a one-time fee, then the amount that we would split would be $682,716.80. So that's about $57,000 a month, if you look at it that way. So the county's offer is to pay
$964.
Yeah, $964, and that's about 17% of the monthly expenses. So just need y'all's input on how you want to move forward.
I don't think we can do that financially. I mean, I don't think we can, well, first of all, the animals that are taken in, there have always been more county animals than city animals that come into whoever's running the shelters. So I just don't think it's enough money to take care of all the animals. I mean, I would hope that as we go through the first couple of months, if the county looks at it and thinks that it's beneficial for them to do the $57,000 a month, then at any point, I think we should allow them to join with us and start taking county animals.
At that price, it's an $18,482 discount to the county if we go with them. I think it's one of those things we're paying. 60% of their animals are coming into the shelter, the county animals.
That is what, if you look at the animal reports that we've gotten from Critters and OLHS, about 60% of the animals that were dropped off were from the county. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we choose to go and make this the Oxford Animal Shelter, we're only going to be taking Oxford animals in.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
But, I mean, I agree with Janice. We need to let them in when they decide they want to get in, but, I mean, my thoughts are it's not gonna cost us this much if we end up going it alone, because
We're not taking them.
we're not taking as many animals, but also, we're not gonna be able to afford to do some of the things that are in this budget.
Well, we won't need as many kennel attendants for
That's right.
one,
That's right.
you know, so.
And we're not gonna need an assistant director.
It will certainly, I don't believe the first year we will hire all of these positions, whether the county joins us or not. You know, I mean, we looked at it as, we want to be realistic about
Right.
putting numbers together so that we are not surprised based on, you know, if we look at this compared to the number of animals that have been brought to the shelter in previous years, this is what we think it would cost.
I mean, I don't think we have any choice but to do what we're doing.
We are going to be as diligent as we can about not spending unnecessary dollars, as we are in every department, but
I don't think we have any choice but to do what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think that, you know, this is new for all of us and for the county too. They
Sure.
probably need to see how it goes for the first couple of months. And I feel like they'll, at some point, will decide that they want to participate as a partner.
I hope so. I do
Do we
hope
need
so.
any kind of motion for this, Mayor?
I don't know, what do y'all think, since they gave us a proposal?
I mean, y'all had said you hope they would be a 50% partner. I think y'all can move forward with your plans as you are moving forward with the plans without rejecting anything, although if you wanted to move to reject it, you could.
So, but you're saying basically the motion would come if they decide they want to come in.
That's right.
Yeah.
To enter into an
Yeah.
agreement.
No,
You're
I think
not
that's
entering
fair.
into anything.
Okay.
That's fair. Well, and I think that, you know, a lot of the questions that have been asked are based on a lack of trust, and I get that. I think that's fair. I think that this Animal Resource Center is gonna spend time demonstrating to the community that we are going to take the best care of animals and people that we possibly can. And I think that we've got a lot of trust to rebuild, and so hopefully the county will see that and will join in, and we will welcome them whenever they're ready to be partners. So we will keep moving forward. We are starting on renovations now, and we're excited about that. We're excited to have a director that will be in place in the coming weeks. And we also want to hear from people that want to be volunteers or help in any way. We've gotten quite a few emails at cityhall@oxfordms.net, and we invite anybody that would like to volunteer or be a part of this to email us at that address, and we'll be in touch with you. The last thing I think is the name of the shelter that we are transforming into an animal resource center, but we had kind of waited to see if there would be a partnership. I think that we should go forward with the Oxford Animal Resource Center. We've been holding off on software and a website and all of those things, waiting until we had an official name. So is that, anybody want to make a motion that it be named the Oxford Animal Resource Center? And we will get started tomorrow with a Facebook page to start posting these animals. And
I'll make that motion.
all right, motion made. Is there a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank y'all. At number 11, adopt proclamation declaring May 2021 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas the mental health of every citizen is essential to the emotional and economic prosperity of our families, communities, and businesses in Oxford, and whereas mental health is a key component of every individual's overall physical health and emotional well-being, and whereas mental illness affects people of all ages, races, ethnicities, and income levels in Mississippi, and whereas suicide is the 13th leading cause of death overall in Mississippi, with one person dying by suicide every 21 hours, and whereas mental health conditions are not only common, they are treatable, and early and effective intervention can save lives and change the trajectories of people living with mental illness, and whereas only 50% of individuals with a serious form of mental illness seek treatment, and whereas feelings of personal shame and fears of social stigma and discrimination prevent many living with mental illness from seeking help, and whereas untreated mental illness leads to higher rates of emergency department visits, hospitalizations, school dropouts, and suicides, and whereas stigma can be reduced by increasing the awareness of mental illness and available resources for those suffering from mental health conditions, and whereas we strive to create communities in Oxford that support mental wellness by increasing access to treatment, educating ourselves and our communities about mental wellness and mental illness, and supporting our citizens as they seek to improve their mental health, and whereas greater public awareness about mental wellness can positively transform attitudes about and towards people with mental illness, making it easier for our citizens to seek help. Therefore, I, Mayor Robin Tannehill, Mayor of Oxford, Mississippi, do hereby proclaim May 2021 Mental Health Awareness Month. I call on citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Oxford to recommit to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health and to recognize the necessity of accessible and appropriate mental health services for all in the LOU community. Do we have a motion to proclaim May 2021 as Mental Health Awareness Month?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. At 11A, we have request permission to apply for 2 grants through the T-Mobile Hometown Grants Program. T-Mobile is committing up to $25 million over the next 5 years to support small towns across America by funding community projects to build, rebuild, or refresh community spaces that help foster local connections in communities. We were made aware of this funding opportunity on Friday, and Ben Raquette and Mark Levy and Kenny Ferris have been working so hard to get our application together. Towns with populations less than 50,000 are eligible to apply. We are applying now for a $200,000 grant, if you will allow us, and we'll be applying for an additional $50,000 grant in the next month. And these will be used to help with our downtown square revitalization project if we receive those grant funds. But we would like the board's permission to apply both now for the $200,000 grant and in the coming month for the $50,000 grant.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Adopt a proclamation for Building Safety Month. Chris Carter, all right. Whereas Oxford, Mississippi is committed in recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens, both in everyday life and in times of disaster. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and other in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, and federal officials that are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, play. And whereas our nation benefits economically and technologically from using the international codes that are developed by National Voluntary Consensus Codes and Standards Developing Organization, Our government is able to avoid the high cost and complexity of developing and maintaining these codes, which are the most widely adopted building safety and fire prevention codes in the world. Whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, energy-efficient, and livable buildings that are essential to America's prosperity. And whereas Prevent, Prepare, Protect, Building Codes Save, the theme for Building Safety Month 2021, encourages all Americans to raise awareness about the importance of safe and resilient construction, fire prevention, disaster mitigation, energy conservation, water safety, training and the next generation, and new technologies in the construction industry. Whereas each year in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Mayor Robin Tannehill, do hereby designate the month of May 2021 as Building Safety Month in Oxford, Mississippi. Accordingly, I encourage our citizens to join with their community in participation in Building Safety Month activities. Do we have a motion to adopt this proclamation declaring?
I think you should be able to make that motion after reading all that.
Sorry, it's a little fast.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Chris Carter, for all you do to keep us safe.
Yes, ma'am. Quite welcome.
Request permission to accept the donation of building materials from Elliott Lumber Company, Bo Elliott, and Home Depot for demonstrations during Building Safety Month.
We will be doing some, with the help of Chief Gardner and Oxford Fire Department, we're gonna build a couple of structures at the elementary schools, one at Central Elementary and another at Lafayette Elementary. Equip one of them with sprinklers, fire sprinklers, set them on fire and let the kids see how fast the fire propagates through it and also how the sprinklers are effective in putting the fire out. So we needed some building materials to build this stuff, and Bo at Elliott and Scott Dees out at Home Depot were generous enough to donate all the materials necessary to build all that stuff.
Awesome.
It's about $1,000 from each
Very
company.
generous, very generous.
I've got a thank you note I'd like to read, if that's okay.
Absolutely, go for it.
One of these will go to Elliott, one will go to Home Depot. The City of Oxford would like to thank you for your generous donation of building materials for our Building Safety Month demonstrations. Donations from people and businesses that partner with the City of Oxford are greatly valued and will hopefully help us achieve the goal of raising awareness about the important roles played by code officials, engineers, architects, and builders in the overall safety of the buildings we live, work, and play in. Your partnership with the City of Oxford, as well as with the International Code Council and its more than 64,000 members, demonstrates your desire to strengthen our community and see it prosper in the future. I hope to be able to make the celebration of Building Safety Month an annual event and look forward to the continued assistance of our existing partners as well as new ones that are hopefully to come aboard. Thank you again for your donation and support of this mighty endeavor to make the built environment as safe as possible for all to enjoy.
Great, perfect. Do we have a motion to accept the donation? Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Second reading and public hearing on a proposed ordinance amending the City of Oxford Land Development Code, Articles 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, and 10. Ben.
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, it's a second reading and a public hearing for the proposed changes to the Land Development Code. We have not received any comments at this point, and we have not made any changes since we last spoke.
All right. Anybody have any questions or comments? If not, then this is a public hearing. Anyone who is here that has any comment on this agenda item, amending the Land Development Code? All right, then we will have a third reading and vote at our next meeting.
Great.
Thank you. First reading, public hearing and vote on a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 34, Article 3, sound of the City of Oxford Code of Ordinances.
Yes, ma'am. So at the last Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting, there was a motion to make a modification to the outdoor entertainment sound level. And so what we have included in here is that change, which changes the sound limit for all outdoor entertainment in all commercial districts to 70 dBA and 80 dBc. And then we did make a few other modifications inside the ordinance. We had a definition for a higher sound level that was trying to achieve a definition of ambient, and so we actually just modified that to change it to ambient sound level, and actually made that be 70 dBA, 5 feet from the source. We provided a couple additional clarifications. Yep.
Still think that sentence is confusing in section 14. I just think we ought to take that last line out, the last sentence out.
I agree.
On the higher ambient sound level is defined not to exceed 75, 70 at the source. It confused me on the original one because I was taking that as the actual outdoor sound. I just think it confuses things. It's ambient, it's still 70, 80, it doesn't matter what it is at the source, and we really don't want enforcement in their measuring at the source.
Okay.
Oh.
I think if you're making minor changes that are consistent with what is available for the public's consideration, you can do that as part of your adoption. You can move to adopt it with this change or explanatory change. If y'all think it is a substantive change more than just a understanding of the ordinance change, then you could give it one more public.
The only reason I say that though is because that's, at the source is the whole, and that's the whole question.
Well,
that's where the question started, and to your point, I would rather not vote on this tonight. I'd like to make this a first reading, give us another 2 weeks. We have 2 more big weekends coming up. We have another graduation, then we have Vanderbilt baseball weekend coming up, and land on this, our recommendations of where we're going to, and let's get some 4 more field measurements. I went Friday afternoon, very educational to kind of where we are at outdoor sound and some suggestions on that. And I was there between 5 and 6:30. Rick was there at 10:30 at night. Different crowd, different sound generation, and just get some more to say, okay, if this is our target, is that doable? Is that reasonable? How does that sound propagate? Where does it go? And so that's what I'd like to look at our changes, but then do a public hearing in 2 weeks.
That's always better. You know, having
Sure, yeah.
And today, late this afternoon, I got an email, and it went to Mr. Taylor and to Keisha from a citizen who I'm not familiar with, but he had questions about the noise from vehicles, and he was comparing the current ordinance with the previous ordinance. And I'm going to forward this to you, Ben, so you can analyze. He may just have a misunderstanding, I'm not sure, but
okay.
he did not like basically the new requirements concerning vehicular noises.
Was that to do with mufflers or music?
It looks like mostly music,
Okay.
yeah.
I wonder,
Okay,
Rick,
let's keep going through the changes though, so that we will have addressed all those changes in this meeting, and then.
We did add just a clarification, 2 other clarifications actually. One to include other live events in outdoor entertainment, so we're trying to get a little bit more descriptive in the types of uses that would be considered as part of outdoor entertainment. And then a clarification, I think, and speaking with Rusty, I think they fielded a few questions about the outdoor entertainment's sound levels and whether or not that applies to a residential area, which it doesn't. So we reference inside of the outdoor entertainment that residential areas are regulated by the residential standards. And then we clarified, made the modifications to the sound table at the end to reflect all these changes. And Alderman Holsey, as I understand it from our consultant, the purpose for that ambient sound definition is to, that's to target the places like Sonic or some of the I don't know, some of the restaurants that are open a little bit later that actually have either an outdoor loudspeaker for the purposes of ordering or even just music that's playing. And so, when you read that definition, it's talking to the, like the purpose and the intent, and that's not for the purposes of outdoor entertainment. It's just some light background music. And so it was trying to facilitate that, because that's something that we've seen. So that's the purpose of it. But we can strike it, as
it just, when I read it, it confused me again, and it's really, you have, if we go with the 70 and 80 as your sound at the property line, and that's measured over an average of time, to have that number, if we're saying 70 dBA 5 feet from the source, but then we're also saying 70 at the property line, you can't, you're not going to be, if you're 75 feet from the source, you're not going to be anywhere close to 70 at the property line unless the speaker's sitting at the property line. And I guess that's where you talk about ambient, where you have a background music playing or a background TV watching a game. That's that ambient, as opposed to a speaker ordering something or doing a call out. That's not going to meet the threshold of the 70, 80 over time, because that's going to be a spike anyway.
And in the instance of the, let's just say the Sonic, in that instance, then they would be subject to, in 3460, I think 3468, they'd be subject to the 65 decibels after 11 p.m. to 10 a.m. So, I mean, we're within 5 decibels there too. So I don't know that it's that big of a deal.
I mean, we can chew on that. I mean, that's my recommendation. And since we're doing a public hearing, we can chew on that for 2 weeks and just see.
You bet.
Where we land on that.
Yep. Anybody else have input or questions? If not, then we'll have a second reading and public hearing at our meeting in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And anyone that's available over the next 2 weekends, go get with Joe Bishop and actually listen and look at some of the sounds and see that's what I wanted to do, because I wanted to hear what a 75 or an 80 or an 85, and that original, when we were on that 85, 95, when we originally started, there's no way we can be there. We need to be in the mid to low 70s on the average scale, and that's comfortable to listen to, comfortable to speak over, and it doesn't transmit far into the residents. So I think we're heading in the right direction.
Good deal, thank you. All right, request permission for the mayor to sign an agreement with the Lafayette County Circuit Clerk's Office for election and redistricting support. Ashley?
Yes, thank you. Yes, Jeff Busby, our circuit clerk, has pretty much dedicated a part-time employee in his office to making a lot of the changes that resulted from our redistricting, and they've offered a lot of help during the election. So it's just pretty much a reimbursement to him for his part-time employee's work on our information.
So moved. I move the mayor can sign it.
Thank you for that permission, kind sir. And a second by Dr. Antonow. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Request permission to approve a brown bag consumption permit at Pizza Shop Oxford. Chief?
Yes, ma'am. We got this permit in late last week. I've spoken with ABC. They've not filed anything with them yet, but Tony has submitted this for the brown bag at the new location there on Ed Perry, and so we're bringing it before the board for discussion and approval potentially.
Okay, and so I guess that a motion to allow would be based upon ABC's
No, not necessarily. We can approve it here. I just want to give you some feedback that they have not put any paperwork in. This could be a little bit longer than, a month or two.
Normal,
Yeah.
okay.
So moved.
All right, any input? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Chief. Consider a contract with Precision Engineering Corporation for professional services to survey city-owned property near South 16th Street. Brianna?
Thank you, and as your memo stated, we would like to hire Precision. This is part of our 592 project, our big regional water project, and we're looking at this area for test wells for water. So we just need to get the property surveyed so we know what's out there. We'd like to hire Precision for that.
All right,
So moved.
Yeah, I'll second, but I guess we probably need to let Bailey know, because this is something he would have easily made a motion on.
I guess Bailey still
He's still
refused
going.
himself, and we
He's still
didn't tell him that we were finished.
I just realized he wasn't here. Or maybe he left.
Sorry. Okay, so there's a motion to consider a contract with Precision Engineering. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Consider a request from the Oxford School District for a revocable license for a decorative wrap on this traffic signal control cabinet at the intersection of Jefferson Avenue and Bramlett Boulevard.
Yes, and your packets include imagery of what this wrap would look like, and I'm not sure if there's anyone from the school here or not, but they're asking for that traffic signal cabinet to have a wrap around it, and we've received requests in the past about painting. We do feel like a wrap is going to be more durable, it's going to be easier to maintain and easier to remove. Oxford Utilities has looked at it as well, and we have no objection, so if the board approves, supports this, then we would ask for a revocable license.
Have we had other requests to do this, to either wrap them or paint them in other places?
I think years ago we had a request to paint it, but I think there was some.
We've had a couple.
Not this one, I think maybe Jackson Avenue.
We've had a couple, a Leadership Lafayette group was the first group that I dealt with that wanted to paint it, but what we were worried about is the material that they were using. It was not very weather resistant, and we thought it could look really bad quickly. And then what were we gonna do? And this wrap, I think that they've studied, once this looks bad, you just peel it off. There's no, no real
it is
upkeep
durable.
to it.
Yes.
The only problem I have with it is it looks like another sign. I'm sorry.
No, that's.
You know how I am about too many signs.
Okay, so we would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
If you're in favor. All right, is there a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
All right, consider a request to close South 11th Street between Van Buren and Harrison from 2 to 7 on October 16th, 2021 for a wedding ceremony. Rihanna?
Yes, and Ellen Thomas is the event planner. She is on Microsoft Teams to speak if y'all have any questions for her, but she has requested to close South 11th for a wedding on October 16th. This would be an off weekend. Ole Miss plays at Tennessee that weekend, I believe, and so she's asking for permission to close the street using the bollards. We've discussed that if this was to be approved, there would be a permit that would have to be approved through Oxford Police Department that would include fees for officers to manage the closure and reopening the street and other fees that they may deem necessary. I think the board has previously considered requests and denied these, and I believe Pope may have, I think there was some information from Pope regarding the ability to do this, but if the board was willing, then we would ask that if any approval would be with the condition that it's contingent on the receipt of an event permit from Oxford Police Department and payment of all necessary fees, including for additional officers to manage the closure and the reservation of parking spaces. So,
I don't have much to add except to say that these are public streets, and the only time that I know that you're allowed to close them is for public events that the public is invited to, car shows, double-decker. Otherwise, there's a street closing provision you have to go through to pay for losses for adjoining landowners and notices. Y'all have turned these down before because they would be frequent if you granted them.
Sure sounds like a fun idea, though.
Approving any previously, I just don't remember it.
So it's just for the ceremony, so, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, go ahead, feel free.
So it would just be for the ceremony, so it's just for, like, there's no alcohol, no food, so it's literally just, like, from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock, so they're just sitting out there for, like, 45 minutes. So we would just need it for the setup. Have y'all I've done it in smaller cities, and I've done it in Nashville, so I didn't know if that would be something that y'all would, allow.
Well, the ones that we have been asked to approve before have been on busy cut-through streets. I can remember 2 that we've been asked to do that we've not. Yep, and we had one that was between St. Leo's and the Annex that asked us a couple of years ago as well. So just up to the board. I think it would be a fun spot for a wedding and great for that venue, but I do think we'd have other requests.
Because they would go into the lyric for the reception. This would just be for their ceremony, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I remember most recently, we denied one on North Lamar that was like part of the street. Remember that right in front of the house?
That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
that's right. I just think it's one of those things, we'd love to do it, but I don't think we can do it. Just for what would come after it.
Well, besides what would come as far as people asking us, what would actually it take if we did do it?
I think it constitutes.
So detail.
No, I'm talking to my attorney, I'm sorry.
I think it would.
Okay, no, go for it.
I think it would require a closing of the road, and there's a public statute for closing the road. I mean, the road, this sounds harsh to say it, but the roads are publics, and they're not for individuals to use unless y'all set a festival or a citywide event.
Does he need to talk where she can hear that, so she kind of, I don't know, or maybe you could tell her.
Could you hear what the attorney was saying, Ellen?
Yes, I can hear him.
Okay, just making sure he didn't have a microphone over there.
Yeah.
All right, any other comment or questions from the board? So does it die for lack of a motion, or do we need a motion to deny the request, or how does? Okay, unless there's a motion to grant the closure. Is there a motion to grant the closure? All right, then I am sorry, but that request will not be granted. Consider a request from 208 South Lamar for a revocable license to install balconies over city right-of-way. Rhianna.
Yes, and Tim Smith is also joining us by Microsoft Teams. I stated in my memo that Corey Alger was requesting the license, but he's requesting that on behalf of West Jackson LLC, which is Tim Smith is representing. So this request is for a canopy and balcony overhangs into the right-of-way of South Lamar and Harrison at the 208 site. The Courthouse Square Historic Preservation Commission did grant a certificate of appropriateness for the site, and they have noted that it meets the recommendations of Oxford Design Guidelines, and also made some comments regarding the balconies being a appropriate feature. This project has not been through site plan review, which means that engineering, fire, building, planning, separate from the courthouse preservation, they have not reviewed it in depth. We've not seen a set of construction plans. We do have what Corey has provided us, though. So we've discussed with Corey that this license, if it's granted, would be revocable, that it could be required to be removed at any time, and those balconies would have to be taken off of the buildings. And I have a lot of information in here, so I'm going to say, as I tell you every time, I don't support encroachments into the right-of-way because I feel like you do not ever know what that right-of-way will be needed for in the future. However, I do understand that there are a lot of other things that the board has to consider, including the aesthetics, the downtown nature, your planning staff recommendations, and other things as well. So Corey has provided renderings that are in your packet, and they show the canopy. One of them is going to be 12 feet above South Lamar. The other one is going to be 13 feet 4 inches above Harrison. And that does not include the cross supports. So one of the things that I've noted in my report is the concern about that height being too low. I think it's a risk for delivery trucks, for our possibly our garbage trucks, for double-decker buses for sure coming through there, and potentially snagging that. I think it would need to be higher.
That's the one on Harrison.
The one on Harrison. I think that the one on Lamar is gonna be under the sidewalk, and so I think that one's a little different. But Harrison, because of it's narrow and because of the turning maneuver, that's my concern, that when they're making that turn, they could snag that balcony. So that's the reason that I would recommend that it be higher, to avoid that conflict there.
And you're saying it needs to be closer to the 15 feet height?
Yes, I do.
So that's a foot and a half,
Above.
almost 2 feet taller than what it is now.
Yes, and that is also, I think that it's hard to tell in all of the renderings, but there's a lateral support member. And so that vertical clearance, there needs to be clearance for that member so that you don't hit that support member. And so that's how, my opinion about that part. The building code also provides language regarding encroachments, and it says that it will be a maximum of 4 feet if you are less than 15 feet above the road grade. Right now, the balcony extends 5 feet 6 inches, and so by the building code, that would not be permissible. So we've also talked with the Oxford Fire Department about the turning radius to be sure that that was possible. We have an exhibit from Precision Engineering where they have shown the turning radius, and they show that a fire truck could make that turn. It does, depending on where they start the maneuver, it does get close to that balcony. And again, that's the reason I think that that height is so important there, just to make sure that that's out of the way.
Will there not be a car parked there up underneath?
No, I don't think so. We would require, I think, sidewalk on Harrison to be added there, but I don't think that we would allow parking. It's not currently allowed parking in that area. There's also a requirement from the fire department regarding the utility lines, the aerial lines. Those would need to be taken underground because they can't use their ladder truck over utility lines on new construction. So, and again, I think I stated in my memo, a lot of these are issues that can be worked out, that would be worked out during the site plan review process normally, but the applicant would like to go ahead and see if the board is in favor of allowing the encroachments so that they can, before they go and spend additional money on that. So I have, also will note, Corey provided an exhibit that shows how far the existing stairs came out and how far the existing porch when it came out. So the stairs at the beginning of the turn came out like 3 feet into the alley, and then when you got back towards the back of the building, it was 5.5 feet that porch that was on there extended out. So I've got a number of recommendations in here, and they are, if you should approve this, that the maximum encroachment will be according to the building code, that we would require a stamp certification from a licensed structural engineer within 30 days of installation, that they would provide recurrent inspections and certifications regarding the structural integrity of that, that staff has the approval to make changes on the plans in order to comply with site plan review and building code requirements and compliance with the 2018 International Fire Code. And I've said a lot, and Corey may have something to say, or Mr. Smith, I don't know. Or y'all may have questions for some of us.
I have a couple questions on Harrison. Again, the one on South Lamar, I mean, it's over a sidewalk. I don't have an issue with that. When you say on the one on Harrison to building code, so that would be a maximum of 4 feet of an extension and at that 15 feet clearance?
Well, if they build it 15 feet tall, then they could have a further projection. At 15 feet, there's no limit on the obstruction by the building code.
But they still need a revocable license.
They would still need a revocable license, yes. And so that's where it would be compliant with the requirements of the building code. And I don't know what height would be feasible for Corey, but I recommend, I think it really we should look at 15 feet minimum. And again, I will say we haven't been through the site plan review process, and Corey has not had an opportunity to provide additional information supporting something less, but this is what we received the request, and we're trying to prepare for the board meeting. So.
And what did you say about sidewalk? that there could be a sidewalk required?
We
It
would
would actually be underneath that balcony?
we would require a sidewalk
So is
under the
that
balcony
a
on Harrison.
36-inch or 48-inch sidewalk?
It would be a 5-foot, I believe. So, and it may be that, it would be, I think, similar to probably what we have on Monroe, where the sidewalk is gonna be up next to the building.
Right.
And so, and that would be, if a truck has to turn, they would drive up onto that, you know, probably up onto the sidewalk and over it, potentially, if it's, depending on how close it
There's no other
is.
sidewalks on that side. So
Not-
We would do a 20-foot sidewalk?
We would do just, it would
You know
be.
how the side of Monroe is by Blind Pig? We've got sidewalk there up against that building that keeps people from walking in the middle of the street, but it goes, a car can come around the corner.
We also have it in other places, I think on Van Buren down, as you get further, deeper into this, or further away from the square, there's some others that are up, I think behind the Lyric, has sidewalk back there, so.
Yeah.
But it goes all the way. I'm just saying, there's not any, this doesn't go anywhere. But that's fine, we're gonna need one anyway.
And Rihanna, just for the record, that when you say it still has to go through site plan, nothing in this implies a special exception or variance being granted by the license itself. If those are needed, they still have to be requested. Is that right?
So
Yes,
basically,
that
what
is
this
correct.
board would be deciding is if y'all can work all that out in site plan for it to safely be done, is the board okay with considering a balcony on Monroe?
Yes.
I mean, not
was about to say,
Monroe,
I
on
don't even know.
Harrison.
We're not really supposed to be getting, I guess we
No.
can, but get into how high it's supposed to be. It's just whether or not we wanna give them.
She's just being upfront about where we
Yes.
are. I mean, but are we good with them moving forward with the discussion? Because if we already know, no, we're not good with a balcony there, then Corey didn't want to spend the time designing balconies for us to say no. Is that fair, Corey?
Exactly right.
Okay, so we're just, are we good with them moving forward, assuming they get the heights right and all those things worked out?
So moved.
I need to speak to the height thing, you can't just, I need to say a few things.
Okay, come on.
I don't want to not have the opportunity to clarify. What Rhiannon has given you is facts.
But a couple of things about our request. First, thank you for hearing us. I know Tim is with us, and he might want to say something as well. The request that we have is for the 2 balconies, one on South Lamar and one cantilevered over Harrison. The balcony on Harrison and the canopy on Harrison have been reviewed by the fire truck. It is 13 feet 4 to the bottom. There is a support. However, fire engine 1, I don't think is shorter than 13.4. So there, most delivery trucks, most things, most everything. I mean, highway department is like 14.6. The code says 15 feet shall be unlimited, but no one's going to build over 15 feet unlimited. But we've done over the street before. I don't want to say all that to say all this. The turning radius in and around the square is tight anyway. This area is 24 feet clear between the face of our balcony and the face of the building. And that 24 feet is wider than any street past us, especially if you try and get down that road and try and turn left or right in either one of those alleys as you get towards Presbyterian Church. It's tighter than this.
But that's gonna be y'all's battle.
But
So
that's
I hear
past-
you,
that's past
but that's not anything that we're deciding today.
That's exactly right.
So
So
that's-
in terms of having a danger component of running into the balcony, I would like to reiterate one word, it's revocable. If it doesn't work, if it should be an issue.
Well, but I
it is
don't
a
want somebody
revocable.
own it when somebody hits it, so I don't.
That- exactly. I mean,
Let's be clear,
that's
but
right.
that's not what we're deciding today, so I just don't wanna get the cart
Revocable
before the
license
horse.
Based on the design before you.
No, we can't say it based on the design before us.
Well, they're not making any decision about height correctness, all of that, they said, is reserved to site plan. That's why I said what I said, Corey. I want to be very clear that what they're doing is not approving any heights, not approving any distances out. They're just saying they're good with giving you a balcony license, assuming site plan and any variances or special exceptions, if there are any required, are valid. That's,
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, all we can do at this point, I don't know enough to argue with you on.
Right now, all we
heights
can
and
do is
anything
allow
else.
you on city property.
that's right.
I'm actually not, I don't have a problem with what he's saying on the height, but it doesn't matter, because it hadn't gone to
I
site.
don't know enough to have the argument, but
I
I
don't want to come back.
but I
and-
like
you
the
didn't
way
tell
the
us that
balcony,
first time, or you didn't show
aesthetically,
something
the
different.
balcony is pleasing. I don't mind it being over
I just want to
the
make sure
city
the
street,
drawings
but,
represent our request and not,
Yeah.
I just don't want to have to come back and go, hey, by the way, we changed the drawing because when I was here before, we had, you know.
sure, got it.
Got it.
Okay, so is there a motion to,
Yeah, I made that motion.
yeah, okay. Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Corey. All right. Consider bids received for the East Jackson Streetscape Project.
Yes, thank you. Hold on, I got a stack of paper to shuffle. Okay, so I have provided an updated memo on your chairs tonight. The bids, we received bids on Thursday afternoon, and so there was not time to get the bid tabulation prepared and in your packets for Friday. So we received funds, we received bids, 3 bids for this project on April 29th. The base bid was, the lowest bid was from Phillips Contracting of Columbus, and their base bid was $1,107,045. They also included, we have 2 substitution alternates for this project, and as I discussed in the memo, the substitution alternates are to allow the board an opportunity to determine the finish for the courtyard area, which would be where dining would be, or outdoor shopping, or outdoor seating, and that's what we call the courtyard area, and then the regular sidewalk area. So there are 2 substitutions allowed, and those would be added on to the base bid amount. As you know, this project's going to have provide our wider sidewalks. It's also going to include the outdoor dining, raised planter beds and seat walls, trees, improved lighting, and some additional drainage improvements to address some issues on 11th Street. So we are requesting the bids. We're requesting consideration tonight because this project has a very tight timeline. Should the board award the project, we need to start construction on May 17th. Your packet update includes a summary of the bids and the base alternates and the substitutions. The board also had approved an allowance of $1,000 per day if the project was finished early, up to a maximum amount of 10% of the bid. If the project runs over, the liquidated damages are also $1,000 per day. So on that page 2, you see a summary. Phillips Contracting, again, was the lowest bidder, and we did not have any bidders from Oxford. There were no local bidders that bid this project. The prices are high. They're reflective of what we've been seeing with COVID, with lack of workforce, with lack of materials, and they do reflect that. This contractor has done several downtown projects. They've done one for Tupelo, for Senatobia, for Hernando, and also for Sardis. So they have a lot of experience in downtown areas, and they are aware of the risk and what they're getting into, and with a tight timeline, and so the bid prices also do reflect that. That being said, their bid price was still almost $300,000 cheaper than the other 2 bids, which were very close. So funding is allocated through the street department in the amount of $1.5 million maximum for the in the intersection improvement account. And should you choose to award the project, then I would need you to state which substitution alternate you want with that.
So the choices are just regular concrete or brick pavers?
The choice is a brick paver and an exposed aggregate sidewalk. The exposed aggregate looks like it looks like where the cement is washed off. You can see more of the rock. Or the other choice is just an exposed aggregate courtyard area with the washed looking concrete, and then regular concrete for the sidewalk. So substitution 1 is for pavers in the courtyard, and substitution 2 is without those pavers.
And the difference in cost, Rihanna?
Is approximately $100,000.
So, Rihanna, COVID has everything expensive, but this came in like 80% higher than our estimate.
It came in very high, yes.
How did we miss that? I mean, I'm not even sure we'd be sitting here talking if we thought that's what it was gonna be. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
So we have talked to our contractor, we've gone back and looked, and COVID is accounting for a lot of it. And then part of it, the contractor, one of the things that is extraordinarily high is maintenance of traffic, and we're closing the street to avoid a high maintenance of traffic cost. And I've talked to the contractor, and he stated that a lot of that is to keep pedestrian access, because we have told them they have to keep pedestrian access in there. And I think a lot of what we've missed is the fear factor. The contractor stated that what they've experienced in other cities where they've done this is the unexpected that you get. And they're very obvious, they were very blatant that they're concerned about the liquidated damages. Because they've asked, well, what happens if it rains for 10 days in June? Are we gonna get extra time? And we told them very clearly, no.
And we didn't have construction drawings when we were getting estimates.
So, and we did not know. Our earlier estimates were before we had the construction plans. But then a lot of it also is lack of workforce and difficulty with materials. And that's one thing that they're saying, that, you know, what they're having to pay to get their employees to come on.
Because they can stay home and get money.
It's a struggle right now. Obviously, everybody's fighting for the same employees. So,
that's right. And you know, we had a guess based on, you know, the area, the size, the amount of concrete we knew they'd need, that kind of thing, but we did not have an estimate based on construction drawings when we were estimating.
Another factor is we did expect local contractors to be able to bid on this project, and that's one thing that our local contractors know the area. They know, you know, they're very familiar with Oxford, and so they know what to not be afraid of or what to feel confident about, and so we would have seen lower bidders from them.
So talk about the funding again. Where does the money come from?
So this funding, there are a variety.
Page 2.
Yes, so page 2 talks about a variety of locations. So the original, we had $250,000 allocated from the Baptist Fund for sidewalk improvements. We also have a remaining general obligation note that we're gonna have money, $88,000 and some change from. We've got some remaining funds from our Riverside Maintenance Fund account, our Trust and Agency Miscellaneous, we're gonna take funds from that. We have $160,000 from the 2%, or 155, I think, maybe the most recent number. Ashley provided some updated numbers that I don't have in the packet, but they're different by about $5,000 from different accounts. And then the majority of the funds are coming from our remaining bond funds in our roadway account. That's gonna be about $650,000.
Brianna, there were some other projects that we were gonna do out of those remaining bond funds. Are those gonna be scratched?
I think that we would be prioritizing this and
So, if this infrastructure deal goes through in Congress, it may be even harder to find people to work on this, which means the price may not go down if we want to wait a year, but at the same time, we may have, I don't know, I mean.
It's all, you know, I mean, we don't know. We've analyzed that from every angle. What if we waited a year? Do we think, you know, material costs would go down? Will labor be easier to find? Who knows? I mean,
Well, and you know, you mentioned all the different places to get this money, the remaining funds from this and the 88,000, but that's still money that could be used at other things too.
Absolutely.
That's why it's a difficult decision.
it is.
It's too bad we don't know what kind of federal monies we're gonna get and what they could be spent on.
I know.
Right.
It's really putting us in a bad situation to be in the dark.
Well, you know, they keep telling us it'll be $6.3 million, but they've still not given us the parameters of what that $6.3 million can be spent on.
Right.
Well, what are your thoughts?
I don't think in a year things are gonna go, the costs are gonna go down. That's just my opinion. Mark, have you ever seen anything? Mark, have y'all ever seen anything go down? On a bid?
I have, get PVC pipes because plants had burned down or tornadoes had got, but it is rare. Now, you know, I've watched enough of the different times talking, and I do believe we're gonna see raw material prices come back down, but I don't believe it's gonna be for in the next year or maybe even in the next 2 years.
Is there any PVC pipe in this deal?
You know, the thing that we have to think about, and I don't know how to equate this, but, you know, Bart and I were talking about, okay, let's say it went down $100,000 to $200,000 in the next year. Would we make that back in 2% funds when that is open for increased capacities of dining in the downtown area? I don't know the answer to that. Those are the kind of things that we, just so you know, we've been having these conversations. It's hard to project, you know, what that will bring in. I mean, it will be revenue generating for sure. Unlike a lot of other things, it will be revenue generating. But at what level? It's, you know, right now we don't know how many tables it'll fit and who all will decide to do it, and you know, it's just hard to say.
Just whenever we do get any federal money, we're just gonna have to be creative with it and see if we can get back some of those projects. You know, there are some that I've just been looking forward to getting started on that I hate for them to go away.
Absolutely.
I agree. And it's like what I said, I mean, I think we probably need to go forward, but I'm not sure we would even be discussing it if we'd known it was gonna be $1.4 million.
Yeah, I think we
That's
probably
fair.
need to do it. We haven't really done much in the downtown area, and and also, I can't even believe I'm saying this after complaining about the money, but if we're gonna do it, I think we need to go with alternative one and do the pavers.
It's gonna be there for a long time.
Yeah, and it really makes a huge difference as far as attractiveness.
I agree with that. If you're gonna do it right.
Yeah.
So we would need, if we are gonna move forward, we would need a motion to accept the low bid from Phillips Contracting, and at which,
Alternate number
Alternate one
or
or
which
two.
alternate the board would
Yeah.
choose, yes.
I make that motion,
I'll second.
reluctantly.
to move forward with alternate,
What Janice said.
okay, one. All right, so we have a motion and a second to move forward with alternate one. All in favor? Any opposed? We will get started in a week, hopefully.
Yes. we will.
Consider a contract with Sol Seismic for professional services for vibration monitoring and right-of-way video for the East Jackson Streetscape project.
Yes, and this item was contingent on the board accepting the bids, but this is to do a professional video of the buildings, of the right-of-way, and also to do seismic monitoring so that we can be sure that as we are in there removing the sidewalk adjacent to these buildings, that we're not creating excessive vibrations, that we're not causing any issues, and so we just want to monitor it for our benefit, for the building owner's benefit, and for the contractor's benefit. And then, of course, the right-of-way video, this is something that engineering staff has been doing for a number of years, but it consists of us with a camcorder from, I think, 2011 maybe, 2012 camcorder out there video. And so obviously this one, we want to get the quality and the professional video from a professional service. So we would like to do that. We do have funds in our engineering services, and we would like any approval to be contingent on approval by legal counsel because they've not had a chance to review the contract.
So move.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. I would ask the board to consider an executive session.